Answer is yes. If you are still deciding whether to read this or not, yes, read. I feel like this is common sense, but I have been seeing some people just go right to Sunrise on the Reaping, when I do believe you should read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before you read Sunrise on the Reaping, especially because I definitely think Suzanne is going in the direction of another trilogy. I know there's already 1,000,001 videos breaking down this book. That's not what I'm going to do. I just want to share my thoughts on basically like my theory about whose story is next. I know we all want Finnick's story, Joanna's story, Annie, etc. I know we all want our beloved character stories, but I don't think that's the route she's going to go in, because I don't really feel like it makes sense. So for me, my theory is that Plutarch's story is next, and I'm going to get into that, and I want to see if people agree with me or see where I'm going. Now I'm going to eat up whatever she shares regardless, but the reason I think it's Plutarch's, Suzanne is one of those writers who writes when she has something to say, and she's very particular about how she writes it. So Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is basically like Snow's background, and it's not like a sob story. It's not meant to paint him in any other way than what we already know him as, the bad guy. You're basically tapping into his mind and see that how he thinks and how he really is evil. Basically, Snow sees himself as superior to even the people in the capital. He finds them like, stupid and annoying and blah blah blah, and really truly thinks he's the only one that knows best. Obviously there's more detail, but overall that's just the way I'm going to summarize it. So why I say Plutarch's story is most likely next, or should be the one that makes the most sense to me, is because in Sunrise on the Reaping she hints to that a lot. Or it's Suzanne and she just wants to throw you off. What I want to start off by saying is Plutarch is definitely a gray character. Nowhere in my mind am I thinking like, oh, this is a good character. He's definitely gray. He's basically a type of character that you need in order for a rebellion to happen. What I mean by that, he's not good or bad. He's kind of like the medium. Like, he shape-shifts where he needs to be. In Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Plutarch's family name is like mentioned briefly as one of the students that's in the same class as President Snow. So here's basically what we know about him. Comes from a very wealthy family, and it's a big family, because I think Suzanne makes it a point for Haymitch to notice all the family pictures and the books and how he's pretty well off. And then the biggest thing is that he's close to Snow. Line-wise, what we can take from Sunrise on the Reaping is that he's basically fooled Snow, or kept out of his reach, for 25 plus years. Which, if you think about in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, you realize Snow is a very smart character, and he does not trust people easily, and he usually knows when somebody's up to something, or he, cuts out who he needs to when he needs to in order to make his plan work. So for me, I think that was the biggest selling point, when it was pretty clear that Plutarch had already been a part of trying to make this rebellion work. He's important. Like, now I want to see his point of view. So if you've already read Sunrise on the Reaping, you understand that this book focuses a lot on propaganda. And we also know that Plutarch kind of has a hand in that propaganda, which is probably most likely why Snow trusts him, because propaganda is the biggest control that the capital is able to use, to control the districts. Besides obviously separating them in the peacekeepers, what they choose to show them with the games is essentially a huge part of how much they're able to hold on to the. Some things that I noted that I think were just like subtle hints or important things was he made it a point to mention that he has a friend in District 12. He low-key saved Lenore Dove, and I think that was intentional. Plutarch noticed right away Haymitch is somebody that he can use with this rebellion, now that we know he's been like an underground rebellion, capital rebellion person. So him helping Lenore Dove and then giving Haymitch the chance to talk to his mom and brother before going on the train was a way for him to establish a little bit of trust. That's how I see him. Also, when he pulls Haymitch aside in District 11 and, takes him to the area where there's no cameras and says, like, we need somebody like you, but luckier, and then also him saying, like, I'm still in the game. For me, that's Susan's way of setting him up to see his POV, because I feel like it'll be easy to give us the POV from Plutarch, since he's in the background of all of this. And if we've learned anything from Sunrise on the Reaping, is that the rebellion did not start with Katniss, that this has probably been in years, that there's probably always been a tribute who had the potential to be like said Mockingjay, but it never worked out until Katniss. So I think a good point to make is, because of Seneca Crane, his focus on entertainment instead of the propaganda part is really what set it up for it to be possible for Katniss's rebellion to be shown to the districts. Because remember, The propaganda is what keeps them in control. The districts aren't seeing when the tributes are fighting against the capital in their own little ways. So we as the readers were just as lost as Katniss was when we first, not really lost, but we fell into the same propaganda that Katniss did. Anyways, I'm all over the place. Plutarch's POV is probably going to be next, and it's the one that makes most sense to me, and I feel like Suzanne's going to do a really good way of tying up everything together. But if she chose to write 1,000 more books with the rest of different POVs, I would, like I said, I'll eat it up regardless. So if you have not read Sunrise on the Reaping yet, please do.